Hey, welcome inside our Los Angeles studio. We are just under 2 hours away from the 2026 NBA trade deadline, and we have the best in the business to cross that finish line. Alongside Kendrick Perkins, for the first time in our studios on this day, we have Kenny the Jet Smith, Michael Malone, apparently dressed like he's going to somebody's funeral, and Brian Winters.
He might be going to a black tie.
Yeah,
black tie.
never
Spend the
know.
night here.
Well, there's some big questions that's going to be answered today, and Michael Malone has a big suit to do it. I'm Malika Anders, and we will be with you for the next 4 hours. But Kendrick Perkins, what was the biggest question heading into today's deadline?
Giannis.
Yep, Giannis. The biggest question was what is going to happen with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And Brian, this is what Giannis posted on social media, on Instagram. He said, quote, "No pencil, but I'm still drawing all the attention." You read the tea leaves better than anybody.
He likes a little bit of attention, and I got bad news for him. He's going to have attention for a lot more months.
Well, you know Shams Charania has and will continue to keep us informed every single step of the way. So, Shams, with less than 2 hours until the deadline, my friend, what is the latest on the Bucks and Giannis's plans?
Malika, sources tell me the Milwaukee Bucks have started to indicate to teams that they are keeping Giannis Antetokounmpo through the trade deadline, through the remainder of the season. And my understanding is Giannis has communicated to the Bucks for months now that he believes the time is now for these sides to part ways, and that essentially led and forced the Bucks to at least listen to calls, listen to aggressive trade pursuits, and exchange concepts with teams. These sides engaged, but they never progressed to even close on a deal over the last few days, and now they're pushing this to the second half of the season, to the offseason. The Bucks have the rest of the season now with Giannis, but teams involved believe that the Bucks might truly feel that they can potentially build a contender around Giannis this summer and get him back on board to being there this summer. And so that is the one thing to keep an eye on here. The Bucks genuinely believe that they can try to build a contender around Giannis in the offseason once again. So now, in October 1, that's an interesting period to monitor. He's extension eligible.
All right, Shams, thank you very much. It is only February, and yet somehow it feels like the summer of Giannis is already beginning. We'll continue to check in with you as this show continues over the next couple of hours. He's staying put, Kenny.
Well, I'm laughing because the Bucks feel that they can potentially build. So does every other team that called. That's why everybody's calling about him. He's one of the top 5 players in basketball. If you put the right pieces around him, he's already proven that he can win a championship, and he's already proven that he would be all in. Yes, he can win a championship, but today is like a stressful. I don't remember in our era, Coach. It's games used to be played. I wouldn't like that, Coach. This would be the same day, we would be on a layup line. And I remember my first time ever being in trade
Conversations?
I wore a watch.
Okay.
On the layup line.
And you kept checking?
Was checking to see the time, and I was like, if I get traded, if they pull me off this layup line, and when 8:01 hit,
you're like,
I took the watch off and I went into the layup.
Well, so Giannis is going to be keeping that watch on, and I guess the question becomes, what's next here, Brian?
You can't get what you don't ask for.
You can't always get.
So if Giannis wanted to 100% be traded by today, and he wanted to be traded to a certain spot, he should have just said exactly that. I want to be traded to Miami, New York, Golden State.
You think they would have traded him to the same conference?
I think if he had come out and said, this is where I want to go and it's the only place I will extend, he would have gotten it done. He soft-played it, and now the Bucks have taken command. And the reason that the Bucks have taken command is, tactically, the correct decision is to wait until summer. In summer, teams can offer more picks. You have a better opportunity of knowing where other teams' picks are going to be. And you also have the opportunity to improve your pick. Because let me tell you what's going to happen now. Giannis has this calf injury. It's his second calf injury of the season. It's his fourth in the last 2 years. The Bucks, if they want to do what Shams just said, which is build a contender around him, they got to get the highest draft pick possible.
Meaning?
Don't get the highest draft pick possible.
They got a tank.
now, they do have 2 hours left. They have a paucity of assets that they could try to do something with. But if they do not make a deal to improve their team, their way to improve their team is through the draft, and the way to do that is to tank, and that means not playing Giannis most of the rest of the season.
Well, Wendy, Giannis didn't soft play this.
He sure did.
He didn't soft play this because
he sure did.
We all know Giannis didn't want to go to Miami. He didn't want to go to Minnesota. He damn sure didn't want to go to Golden State. Giannis Antetokounmpo wants to be in New York.
Really? I haven't heard him say that.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, didn't you report that he said that in August? It was too late?
That was a long time ago.
Okay, he wants to be in New York. That's why he's not loud about it. By the way, shout out to Leon Rose because he just won Executive of the Year with this decision right here. You know why? Because now, all of a sudden, you have this New York Knicks team who I believe has the deepest team in the Eastern Conference with a shot to really go to the NBA Finals. And guess what? If you fall short, you could make a move and go get Giannis Antetokounmpo because he wants to be there. That's the biggest thing.
But part of the thing is over the summer, right? Shams reported that the Milwaukee Bucks and the Knicks essentially had what Shams termed an exclusive negotiating window.
Little whispering, you know what I mean?
It was an exclusive negotiating window, right? That was the reporting.
Yes, and the Knicks were not aggressive at all right now.
But can they be more aggressive this summer?
Everybody can be more aggressive. Everybody will be in a better position this summer, maybe with the exception of the Warriors.
Okay.
The Warriors essentially will have the same things to offer, which is why they were so aggressive in offering 4 unprotected picks for him now.
I want to go back to something you just touched on. So Giannis is staying put. They want to get the best position possible in the upcoming draft, which is loaded. So how does Doc Rivers and John Horst tell Giannis, listen, we want you to take your time, get healthy, and when you do come back, we all know Giannis is a competitor. He wants to play. We don't want you to play. That is a really slippery slope.
Would you tell him that?
That's a hard conversation. He's wired in a certain way, Malik, where he's a competitor. He wants to play. He wants to compete. And if he's in Milwaukee, he wants
NBA
to
teams do that? I didn't know they tanked.
You know they did.
That's such a surprise.
If it indeed is their position to look, if they want to just mess around and finish 12th or 9th or something, then they can bring him back. They could make a trade for another player here in the next hour and a half that maybe got them an extra win or two. But that's not actually, that's not going to keep you Giannis. The only way you're getting Giannis is if you're getting a top 4 pick.
Well,
you can trade that pick or say, I'm going to draft somebody.
Well, 2 things. I hope the league watched the Bucks closely because if Giannis is healthy and the millions
he's
of
not healthy.
Hold on. When he said 4 to 6 weeks. So eventually, he said.
Dr. Giannis.
He said 4
You know what? They didn't say anything.
Okay,
they
I know.
said no timeline.
I know that. But what I'm saying is if Giannis says he wants to come back and play, then don't do a disservice to the million of NBA fans out there that want to watch Giannis. That's number one. Number two, the last time I heard of a situation like this where they told a guy to shut it down and you're not playing because they was quote-unquote tanking was KG in Minnesota. And we saw how that ended.
Perk, it's happening all over the league right now. Forget about KG. It's happening 3 or 4 places in the league right now.
I understand that, but not with these caliber players. Why I brought up this situation?
Perk, there's all-stars sitting out right now.
No, they're not Giannis.
And the last point I would say is that, again, you're talking about a talent that is generational.
Yeah.
So if you pair him with particularly 95% of the league, you're a contender. If you pair him with the right person, 95% of the superstars, not superstars, it's not 95% superstars, but if 90% of all-stars, if you pair this guy with, your team is going to be a contender.
Yeah.
So that is why the Milwaukee Bucks are on pause. That's why even Giannis is on pause.
Yeah.
Because he knows who he is as well.
It feels like this is exactly that, though, Kenny, an extended pause. This does not feel like the end of a sentence. This feels like an ellipses. It's going to carry on way into the summer. And that seems like if it's a question that's going to go on into the summer, something that we need to check in with Bobby Marks on. So, Mr. Marks, I see you over there. The trade machine is fired up because this is not the end of when we're going to be talking about Giannis.
Well, we're not. And I think there's a couple of teams I want to point out here. I think certainly New York right now. New York right now, they do not have a first-round pick to trade, but starting in June, they can trade 2026, their own, and a pick in 2033. So they go from 0 to 2 now. We always say the playoffs always dictate what happens in the offseason. Regarding Milwaukee, 2031, 2033, and 2036 as far as what they were able to do in a deal here. Starting in the offseason, I think the second team, everybody's talking about the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat right now have 2 first-round picks starting in the offseason. That increases to 4. So that expands as far as some of these deals here. The one thing you have to worry about is a player like Terry Rozier no longer cannot be traded here. So the picks expand once we get into the offseason.
All right, so this is something that is going to continue into the offseason, and certainly it's something we are going to keep an eye on. But as the clock continues to tick down here, there's so many moves that we've already seen made. We know the future Hall of Famer has captured the league's attention. It's going to happen for the next couple of months. But how about the Cleveland Cavaliers?
How about them?
They made the biggest splash so far. They acquired a top 10 all-time scorer in James Harden. Coach Donovan Mitchell said this gives Cleveland a higher ceiling. Do you agree?
I do agree. Last year, 64 wins, disappointing playoffs. They go out, get big game James Harden to come in. Tag team with Donovan Mitchell, one of the best backcourts in the NBA. Donovan trying to get out of the second round for the first time in his career. And I really like this pickup because James Harden, as Kenny alluded to last night, playing with Evan Mobley, playing with Jarrett Allen, is going to make everyone around him better. And end of games, we all know that big game James can do his thing and score and get you a timely bucket.
Well, in exchange, the Clippers, they got back two-time All-Star Darius Garland. Mr. Wainhorst, what does this move signify for Los Angeles?
Well, this was the oldest team in NBA history at the start of the season. And so if they were not going to make a serious run this year, and they obviously came to the conclusion they were likely not, they had to get younger. So they go 10 years younger for their franchise point guard. He's under contract for 2 more seasons. Obviously, he's got to be healthy, but when he has been healthy, he's been a multi-time All-Star. You just can't get guys like that without giving up draft capital. They got a second-round pick in this deal.
They sure did. Another future Hall of Famer was moved on Wednesday. Anthony Davis off to the Wizards to join Trae Young. What a sentence to say there. Kenny, this was a move for the future, but could this Trae-AD combo be something you believe in?
Well, it makes people in Washington want to go to a basketball game because there's interest. 2 guys who have had a great deal of success in Trae Young and Anthony Davis. Now, the one thing that we all will answer, will we see him in a uniform or will we see him in a suit? If I see more of his apparel that he buys on the street than I see him in an actual Wizard uniform, then that's not a great trade.
And it could be a question that we could be looking at.
I know too many of his outfits. That's all I'm
Kenny, you realize, like,
well,
you shouldn't play again this season.
That brings us to the Warriors, friends. The long-lasting Jonathan Kuminga trade saga. Finally, it's behind us. Kristaps Porzingis is headed to the Bay. Perk, can KP be the difference maker for the Dubs to get out of the play-in picture?
I didn't even know he still play basketball.
Oh, my
Real
goodness.
talk, if y'all gonna
Guys.
call Kawhi Leonard street clothes, then I'm gonna call Kristaps Porzingis pajamas. And I'm pretty damn sure that Steph Curry and Draymond Green is not over there doing cartwheels and somersaults right now.
Well, there are plenty of questions still left up. Jose Alvarado for Dale and Terry, 2 second-round picks, and some cash from the Pelicans. So, Tim, what went into this acquisition for New York?
Mark has been looking at Jose Alvarado for a while. Malika, obviously a New York point guard, bringing back home to the city. I think it's safe to say he's going to go right into Mike Brown's rotation, coming off the bench, probably playing alongside Deuce McBride, being able to push the pace a little bit. We will see if this potentially impacts the playing time of Tyler Kolek, who has come on this year and been impressive. But the Knicks, moving on from Gershon Yabusele, who they had not had in their rotation all year, getting Jose Alvarado, who they wanted to do for a bit.
Thank you, Tim. Last night, the Warriors, they made a move. Finally, Jonathan Kuminga, that saga's over. He's headed to the Hawks. Kristaps Porzingis is in. So, Mr. Slater, what was Golden State's thinking behind this deal? Mic check 1 2 1 2. We'll get back to Mr. Slater in just a moment here because we will need to hear more about
And we're
Golden
watching
State.
Draymond and not
But finally, the Timberwolves, they acquired Ayo Dosunmu. This is a 4-player trade with the Chicago Bulls. Howdy, Tim. What's happening in Minnesota's approach to the trade season?
Howdy, Malika. I wish you to use the mute button on bond temps, by the way. But looking at the Timberwolves, hey, the Timberwolves, for the second straight trade deadline, tried to land a haymaker to get a star to pair with Anthony Edwards. It was Kevin Durant last year, Giannis Antetokounmpo this year. They settled for a little jab. And the Wolves are trying to make these blockbuster trades without any ammo. They don't have draft capital. That is in part because of a swing and miss that Tim Connolly took to get Rob Dillingham when they jumped in the lottery, gave up a pick and a swap. That went bust. Dillingham's now heading to Chicago, and the search for a co-star for Ant continues.
McMahon, thank you. All right, the Lakers, they made a move today. They acquired Luke Kennard from the Atlanta Hawks for Gabe Vincent and a 2032 second-rounder. Kennard, he currently leads the NBA in three-point field goal percentage. He averages almost 50% on 149 attempts. And the Los Angeles Lakers, they need that shooting because they rank in the bottom 10 in both made threes per game and three-point shooting percentage, something that Kennard, I think, can help with. But Mr. Windhorst, it seems like you may have a couple of folks here who know something about what's happening next with the Lakers.
Yeah, I've got some Lakers experts over here, including a former Laker, Danny Green. He won a bunch of championships. What'd you win, 7, 12?
A couple. Right place, right time.
And we have senior writers Ramona Shelburne and Dave McMenamin here. Okay, so the Lakers today traded for Luke Kennard, swapping out Gabe Vincent for him. Luke Kennard's a 50% three-point shooter. This is something that the Lakers needed. Danny, even though it's a move on the edge, how do you think this will help them? I
like it. And I've been traded for Luke Kennard actually in the past, and I understood. You know, like I was a good shooter.
You have more rings or more trades?
He's a great shooter, shooting 44 for a career and like 50% this year. Yeah. When Memphis traded for him, I was like, okay, I understand. He's a really good shooter. This to me is they couldn't fix all the problems in one scenario. We'd like to get a 2-for-1, but I'm just looking at them. They're saying we're going to outscore teams. Basically, they have unbelievable high-powered offense. This kid is going to get a lot of shots. He's not a high-volume shooter, but he's going to get so many open looks because he only takes the smart ones. He's going to get a lot of smart ones. So this is a great move for them. This is an upgrade. He's more available. Gabe Vincent was a good shooter, but he's a great shooter and more available than Gabe.
Look, you were a 3 and D player. He's a 3, not as much D player. And I think that's going to be, Dave, you cover this team every night. Like, they have players who are great on offense, but a liability on defense. Great on defense, but a liability offensively. So this doesn't solve that problem, that mix and match problem, but it does give them a laser, as they've needed for a long time. And so I think it's a good move for them. Gabe Vincent, actually, he was acquired to be a tough perimeter guard. The defensive metrics this year, Luke Kennard actually has better defensive metrics.
Gabe had so many injuries.
Yeah, and I mean, Luke Kennard's playing on a team with some great defensive players, so he's going to probably look better metrically. But this is going to, Jay's going to have to mix and match this one. But it's almost like J.J. Redick traded for J.J. Redick when he was a player.
Well,
Duke guys.
And he also has the LeBron connection. He outscored LeBron in Ohio high school scoring record.
That's
he passed LeBron's record. Listen, it's a good move, and the Lakers didn't have a lot to work with unless they were willing to give up that 2031 or 2032 first-round pick. Thus far, they've been able to upgrade offensively. They're maintaining that cap space that they have this summer, close to $60 million projected. That can allow them to be players in a lot of things because you also keep that first-round pick. They'll have to have up to 3 first-round picks to trade this summer.
Yeah, so the thing to me is the Lakers have $100 million in cap space they can have. The real question was, would they eat into that cap space for somebody now? The answer is no. So where do you think their upside is this season now, Dave, looking at this roster?
I mean, they've been a team where they've looked like they could beat anybody on any night, and they've also been a team where they look like they could lose to anybody on any night. One thing that's been strong, a consistent strength, is their clutch time performances. If you get into a late game situation, you have LeBron and Austin and Luka as the decision makers, you kind of like your chances, and you get another guy maybe who can spread the floor for you a little bit in Luka.
Kennard could be drawn up for some of those plays. All right, Malika, we'll see if anything else happens with the Lakers, but that might have been it.
Well, we'll certainly keep an eye on Los Angeles. And look at this, our beautiful studios. Back over here we come. Kenny, you were making some hand signals as we were seeing.
I'm just super disappointed.
Why?
Because Danny Green, a Tar Heel, said that Luke Kennard, Duke, can shoot better than him. What is going on in the world? If I come to ESPN,
the world
is changing.
It's the that's a can of worms there. But yeah,
there's no admittance ever that those guys in Durham can do anything better than us in Chapel Hill.
I'm glad that you were standing on your principles here, Kenny. But you know who else was standing on some principles coming into the season, even in the last couple of weeks? We'd heard from Rich Paul again and again that his thoughts were that this Los Angeles Lakers roster wasn't enough. And we know that the Lakers have plenty of questions to answer here. Do you think this move went anywhere towards putting a drop in that bucket?
Well, I don't know if shooting was lacking, but I don't know if that's the reason why they're losing. I think the defensive perimeter defense is a big part.
Sure.
That they cannot keep people out of the paint. Mm-hmm. So guys are shooting threes, but they're also having rim runs. So I don't think they've addressed the defensive athleticism on the perimeter.
And this might be it, Bobby, for the Lakers?
Well, I've used the phrase the two-timeline team so much that I should just get T-shirts printed out or just get it patented here. This is what we've been talking about since LeBron opted into his contract. They preserve cap flexibility, but for who? It's an older free agent class. They've got 3 first-round picks starting in the offseason, 26, 31, and 33. How are they going to build the roster around Luka and Austin Reeves will be the question going into the offseason.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Bobby, is that the big three in L.A. has only played together 9 games this season. So they're getting Austin Reeves back. You can consider him a trade deadline acquisition, getting him healthy. Kenny's point, they have the worst rim protection in the NBA. They have a hard time guarding on the perimeter. Adding Luke Kennard gives more shooting for Luka and LeBron, but doesn't answer the biggest defensive efficiencies that team has.
Everything come out of Rich Paul's mouth is not the gospel, but I actually agree with him on this one.
All right. Slowly, he dealt with some injuries, some instability with his role, but he started to turn it around over the last couple of months. And even with that, the landscape in Memphis, it has changed. They've pivoted in direction. They traded Jaren Jackson Jr. and seem to be shifting a little bit younger, maybe even towards a rebuild. So let's welcome in our reporter who covers the Memphis Grizzlies. Howdy, Tim McMahon. What can we expect here from Ja Morant as the deadline approaches rapidly?
Malika, the party's over in Memphis. They've got to find Ja a ride out of there. I would say home, but they've got to find him a new home or he's going to stick around. And look, they were able to get a bundle of picks for Desmond Bane. Same thing with Jaren Jackson Jr. That is not there for Ja Morant. In fact, he might have negative value in the trade market because of the risk, because he has 2 max years left on his contract. I was told by one of the teams that's been frequently linked to Morant in speculation, they would have to be incentivized to consider taking Ja on. In other words, the Memphis would have to send picks, attach picks with Ja to move him on. Now, 90 minutes left. We'll see what happens, but it has been a rough market for Ja, and there's no signs that's changing.
All right, 90 minutes left. We'll see if that changes. Tim McMahon, thank you so very much for that insight. As we welcome Shanae Agumake into the desk here for our trade deadline special.
Hey, girl.
Yeah, Kenny's always bringing the golf clubs here. Brian, I mean, is there what's the value for Ja Morant around the league right now?
Well, something that McMahon just said there. My gosh, the idea that a team wouldn't just want Ja, but would actually want a draft pick in addition to Ja. And I think that's because the $87 million that he is owed after this season over the next 2 years, I think this is an incredible buy low opportunity in terms of what you'd have to trade for him. But the problem is it no longer becomes a low price when you owe him the $87 million. And so you look at a team like the Bucks. The Bucks are a team that has been desperate to find people to put next to Giannis. And if they think about trying to trade for Ja, it's like, okay, but if Giannis still wants to leave, now you're stuck with that $87 million and you're starting to rebuild. So if his contract was just a year shorter,
as opposed to a couple of years he has left,
he would have gotten traded weeks ago.
Okay.
But if he's going to get traded at some point, whether it's in the next hour or whether it's this summer, and he's going to have an opportunity. Somebody's going to get a great opportunity. I don't know if he's going to take advantage of it, but there's going to be an opportunity for somebody with Ja.
But it seems like that's the disconnect, right? It seems like the value of Ja Morant at his peak, there's immense value there, and yet around the league, people aren't jumping.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. This situation really makes me sick because there are a lot of people that are fans of Ja Morant. He is box office. Everyone knows his talent is through the roof, his athleticism, but there are questions about his sustainability on the court. He's only played 37% of the last 3 seasons, which is not great, and also the fit. Because when you're someone that athletic, right, you have to show that you can expand your game. And I do believe that the system that the Grizzlies had, the change that they had, did not benefit his game at all. Knocking down outside shots, absolutely need a 3 as a guard in the NBA. And these are areas of growth for him. But nonetheless, you can't keep him in front. You can't keep him downhill from getting downhill. Those are his strengths. So I do think it's a tough situation overall. And you hate to see it because this is a guy that people want to see in prime time.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, if we can honestly speak, Ja Morant trade value and everything that's happened after his off-court incidents. So after the suspension, now you're not working out with the team. Now you're prone to injuries. All of that comes from the stem of what happened off the court. And that is also the reason why, with his talent, people are apprehensive to say, well, we should make this move with him having max dollars. His talent is undeniable. LeBron James wasn't the greatest three-point shooter. He got downhill and he's able to dunk on people and Ja Morant is the mini version of that. It does not matter. People are worried if they also trade for him, his sustainability off the court as well as on the court. So now he has two-edged sword that people are worried about, Perk. It's not just one edge. It's both edges of the sword that they're worried about.
I usually joke when I say this little saying, 1 foot in the grave, the other on the banana peel, but I'm dead serious when I say this. That's the situation when it comes down to Ja. He has one foot on the grave, the other on the banana peel when it comes down to his career. Ja Morant better wake the hell up, because in 2 years after this contract, he could find himself out the league. It is disturbing to hear that a guy that won, we're talking about former Rookie of the Year, All-NBA player, All-Stars, a guy that was on the verge of being the face of the league, and a team can't trade you. They can't trade you. Nobody wants you. And they're telling teams that, hey, if we want you, if we get you, y'all gotta put something in there. Y'all gotta send Ja in the first round. It should be the other way around. And if this not a wake-up call for Ja, I don't know what else is gonna open his eyes, right? Because you think that your value is high. You think, hey, if Memphis, you're not the place, I'm Ja Morant. Nah, that's not the case no more. And that's when you look at the bigger picture. Forget the fact that they can't trade him. That's one side of it. But we're talking about a guy that's a supermax player that's on the verge of no team wanting him and possibly could be out the league in the next 2 years.
So he missed 37% of his games in the last 3 seasons, Janae.
Yeah, and I love that you're going there, because in my heart and my soul, I feel like this is a make or break moment for him no matter what happens, because we know what's happening with the Memphis Grizzlies. They're in a rebuild, and wherever he ends up, when that destination is set, that's the opportunity that he has to seize. And you mentioned it. His talent is absolutely undeniable. No one can stop this right here in the NBA. He averaged the second most drives per game over the last 5 seasons. Ja, look at him getting to his bag downhill. This is what he's great at, just exploding. It does not matter if the help defender is there. You see the nice little up and down to finish that shot. But this is what separates him. You mentioned LeBron James, the comp. Well, if he was a guard, it's this guy, because we say blocked by James, blocked by Ja. On both ends of the floor, Ja Morant is an absolute game changer. And when things settle down, I do believe that he's had a lot of time to think when he was out there so far. You know, there were high moments, there were low moments, but that is a talent that is capable of transforming a franchise. But that opportunity does not come 1, 2, 3 times in the association. The next one is the most important.
Yeah, I have a saying, like, from a distance, yelling can seem like passion or it can seem like anger. And so what he's doing, the perception of how he's doing is anger, and it gives the wrong perception. He has to also change the way he has his demeanor, because then he could lead teams, because he has the talent to lead, but to be also a leader and all of those things, your perception has to change when you walk into the building. Because, yes, the Memphis Grizzlies, at some point, this is going to end. When he goes to his next stop, he has an opportunity to possibly make a team a championship contender because of his talent.
Right.
But now does he have the leadership skills, the ability to bring others, to help others, to bring – those are the things that are questions that the great players we never question. We're not questioning those things about Giannis.
Yeah.
Can he lead? Has he no, we never.
Ethic, yeah.
But talent-wise, you were like Ja at one time, you were like Giannis, all of these guys are the same.
But think about it. It took for Luka to get traded, for him to actually wake up. No, I'm saying for him to wake up even more for a level of accountability of just addressing his weight and him being in shape. Right? It took for him to open his eyes. You know what I mean?
Cover of Men's Health.
Well, I think it was
out of shape to be on the cover of Men's Health.
But I think of this season when he said, like, when he was asked about whether or not he still has joy in playing basketball, and he said that he didn't think so. And Ja Morant, when he is joyous, is so much fun to watch. And I think all of us as basketball fans hope to see that again soon.
The league ain't gonna just wait on him.
Let's go from being fine in the West to elsewhere in the West, right? The Warriors, they traded Jonathan Kuminga, but Hield also on the move. They're headed to the Atlanta Hawks in exchange for Kristaps Porzingis. This finally ends the Kuminga-era saga that was unfolding for the last couple of months in Golden State. So let's try this again. Welcoming back in our Warriors reporter, Anthony Slater. Slater, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Sorry, Steph pulled the plug. That was the problem.
I figured maybe that was it. Loud and clear. Slater, what can you tell us about how this trade went down yesterday, and then what that means for what could be next in the Bay Area?
Yeah, you know, they struck out on Giannis. That's just the reality. They're behind me right now. The mood is light. I mentioned Steph was actually just here joking, saying he was going to turn on the show. But they went to their small swing, and I think it was a silent admission that, you know, like the championship hopes are not necessarily there. They didn't get Giannis. But Porzingis is a guy they've targeted since the Boston days as a stretch, center that can rim protect next to Draymond Green that they think can help. They think he might be as healthy as early as Saturday. They heard he's basically cleared to play. So they're going to try to kind of go for it to a small degree this year, and then they held their draft ammo for this summer. We'll see if they get back in the Giannis sweepstakes or do something bigger. And then the other part of this is it's finally an admission of the Jonathan Kuminga organizational failure. They didn't develop him. They didn't cultivate the relationship well enough. They weren't able to maximize him, and they basically gave away another lottery pick and didn't get much back.
All right, so it sounds like the Golden State Warriors, they have made their moves for now. Slater, thank you so very much for that insight. As we say hello to our Anscape senior writer, Mark Spears, who covers his team incredibly closely. Should we expect anything else in the next 90 minutes from the Golden State Warriors?
Well, at 9 o'clock hour Pacific, I was asked if the Warriors were done, and I was told no.
Okay.
They're still working on doing some things. Obviously, this is the B selection, the B thing. They tried to get Giannis. They were told no before they decided not to move Giannis.
Okay.
Moving to Porzingis. I asked her if they worried about the POTS, the immune disorder that Porzingis has been going through, and they said no. If he's healthy, I think he fits in great. Perk probably disagree with me, but hey, he's a big-time shooter from outside. He's a rim protector. He spaces the offense. He's kind of the guy that they've been looking for.
It's kind of the guy that they thought Al Horford would be in some ways.
Yeah,
well, Al
more
Horford
athletic.
Al Horford was him with Porzingis. Remember that? They were together.
Yeah.
He had a combination of those, Spears.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of, you said Golden State not finished, what else do you think they could do?
Well, I mean, Draymond, I'm not saying they would move Draymond.
In the next 90 minutes.
Hey, I texted with Draymond yesterday. I think he's waiting till the buzzer sounds.
This is the beauty, Kenny, of the trade deadline, is that anything, we mean anything.
One GM came in to us one year and said, some of y'all better have some U-Hauls in front of your house today. I was like, oh, somebody's getting traded.
But hey,
that's honesty right there.
What did Joe teammate say? Anything is possible, right? Like when it's not over yet, I think they're still working the phones.
Up and down. NBA trade deadline edition. Cleveland, this one's for you. The Cavs, they traded Darius Garland for James Harden. So, Brian, does Harden make the Cavs a legit title contender?
Well, they feel like it improves their chances this year, even though Harden is 36 years old and they probably maybe shorten their window. They got to get Donovan Mitchell into a contract extension this summer. They got to try to win the Eastern Conference right now. They haven't made it to the conference finals with this group. They think James Harden can get them there.
Oh, this is certainly a win-now move. Those wins that you just heard were actually Chiney Ogwumike. So let's go to DC, Chiney. The Wizards, they traded for AD. What does this mean for them?
It means that we have to take the Wizards seriously. I love this. This pick-and-roll combination between Trae Young and Anthony Davis is going to be wild because Anthony Davis can pick and pop, but most importantly, he covers Trae Young's liability, which is defensively. You see that swap right there? So, yeah, they're finally out of that sunken place, respectfully. Sunken place, moving on up. Once they hit the floor,
they
got to hit the floor.
It's a win. It's a win.
Next year.
It may be delayed gratification there.
But not denied.
Delayed but not denied. I love that. In Boston, the Celtics, they traded Anthony Simons for Bulls big man Nikola Vucevic. Perk, how does Big Vooch fit your old squad?
The same way I fit with food. Great. Great when you talk about a stretch big, a guy that's going to fit that Joe Mazzulla system. Also, Vooch been playing with a little edge lately. Like, his defense is going to pick up, obviously playing for something. Jaylen Brown, the best two-way player in the game. Peyton Pritchard, I like, hey, watch out for the Celtics as a sleeper.
And you know what? Let's go to Charlotte. We don't say that very often, but we're saying it more now. They traded for Kobe White. Danny, how will Kobe impact the Hornets' playoff push?
Now, this is a great pickup. I love this. Him having LaMelo off the ball some, but Kobe White's one of the fairest deals in the league. Obviously, Carolina kid, so he's just unbelievable. But he knows how to get buckets. He's back home in Charlotte now. The Charlotte's team has been hooping. He fits right in. The pace, the getting up and down, sharing the ball, playing hard. This is a great dynamic with him and LaMelo. So I love it.
Charlotte make the playoffs for the first time since 2016? Well, I suppose that is a question potentially for the wheel. So what we're going to do here is we
say that again.
I think that's all I can do here. We have our fabulous wheel of the East over here. Danny, would you like to do the honors first?
I'll go, yeah.
Spin, and wherever you land, you have 24 seconds.
It's my first time doing this, by the way. So.
Let's go, Danny.
Spin the damn thing.
I don't want to break the thing.
Ooh.
Indiana. Give me something. There we go. Something I can work. No disrespect to Indiana, but Miami's got a little more I can work with. Miami hasn't done a lot this trade deadline, but they're in works of trying to get Giannis. I think that's a good move. I know Ja's been wanting to go there, but this team has been good this year. I think they still do need to make a move in order to put themselves back in contention prior to letting Jimmy go. But yes, they have some good pieces. Norman Powell, all-star this year, so I like what they've been doing thus far.
Okay, not bad for your first time at the wheel. Mr. Windhorst, he beat the buzzer, but you want to show him how it's done.
Come on, Wendy.
And I'm not. If I get the Pacers, I'll answer the Pacers question. I just want you to know that.
Wendy ain't ducking no smoke.
Come on, Pacers.
There you go.
Oh, boy.
Similar.
Brooklyn.
So I think the most important thing for Brooklyn is that Michael Porter Jr. is not moving, okay? I think a lot of people thought when they acquired him this offseason, this might just be a holding zone. He's been really good for them. First off, they're tanking very successfully. They're getting blown out every night. They're going to get a high draft pick. But next year, they have to execute the flip. They got to do the flip. The reason they got to do it is they don't control their draft pick next year. So look for them to spend a bunch of money this year and keep Michael Porter Jr. to help them with the rise next year.
Good luck with that one.
Is it my time to shine?
He is.
You know what they call me here? Vanna Black, baby.
Vanna Black and
Let's do it. Oh, you hear that? Come on, give me something good. Give me something. Oh, wait. Oh, just
Come on, Pacers.
Oh,
there you go.
Hawks. I'm not mad at the Hawks.
Do we get a caw?
Look, the Atlanta Hawks to me are a team on the rise. They obviously are building around Jalen Johnson, and to me, if they're able to make the right pieces and continue to make it work, this is a squad that I believe alongside, that Jazz, the Hornets, everyone else that are actually moving on the way up. So I look at the Atlanta Hawks, they should keep buying. They need a couple more pieces to actually make people think that they're serious, but right now, I feel like this is a team that you should keep an eye on for years to come. And okay, thank you.
Buddy Hield,
Thank you.
good pickups.
Yeah, thank you.
Atlanta's doing some good things.
They are.
Let's go, big dog.
A grown man spin. You know what I'm saying? A grown man spin.
We're going to be here for the next 20 minutes.
Give me the seeds.
There you go.
Give me the seeds. Hey, look, they just got Big Vucevic, Jaylen Brown, best two-way player in the game. Peyton Pritchard been balling. They are my sleepers of coming out of the Eastern
Dark
Conference.
horse.
Because you have Cleveland, the Knicks, Detroit, who all should be ahead of them. But this team mean business. They trying to stand on business. Joe Mazzulla has been coaching his ass off, in my opinion. Should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. Watch out for the season. The big question
What about the 76ers?
is Jason Tatum
thing is actually
going to come back?
Yeah.
Well, you know who has the same record as
it was the
Boston?
76ers?
You know who has the same record as the Boston
I thought it was over here.
Celtics?
Okay.
Perk, do you know?
Oh.
There you go.
The New York Knicks have already made a move, and now we're following a developing story out of the Big Apple. For more, we say hello to our senior reporter, Tim Bontemps. Tim, what's happening in New York?
Well, Malika, we talked before about the Jose Alvarado trade and what his role would be in New York. His role will be to replace Miles McBride in the rotation for a pretty significant period of time here. He's going to have a procedure done later this week on a core muscle injury. Could keep him out for an extended period. Miles has been a very important part of New York's rotation, coming off the bench, playing with Jalen Brunson in their front court as a shooter. Jose Alvarado is obviously a different kind of player. He's more of an attacker, getting in the paint. He's a pesky defender. It's obviously the full court Alvarado move that he has perfected, getting steals in the backcourt. But I think you're going to see him and Tyler Kolek come off the bench and play in a similar way to the way that Deuce McBride and Tyler Kolek have over the past several months. So obviously the Knicks losing McBride, a key piece. We'll see if they can get him back in time for what they hope will be a long playoff run. But getting Alvarado in the mix as a veteran guard to have in Mike Brown's rotation is a guy that can plug and play right away, probably potentially as soon as Friday when they have a huge showdown with the Detroit Pistons atop the Eastern Conference standings.
And Deuce McBride, our Vincent Goodwill is reporting that it is unknown right now whether or not he will be available for the playoffs. Tim Bontemps, thank you very much for that insight as we say hello to our senior writer, Ramona Shelburne, who's back with us. Okay, so Deuce McBride out, Jose Alvarado in. What's the state of the Knicks right now?
Look, they've won 8 in a row. I mean, they're doing great.
Yeah.
And so they had a rough patch right there. Jalen Brunson calls this team meeting. They all decide, look, we're going to have to find the answers for ourselves. Like, we don't need to look to anybody else to find answers. And they've just buckled down and got it going here. So I think this is a good – you can't lose Deuce McBride, right? Like, and not replace him with Alvarado. You know New York, Perk. How well is Alvarado going to play in New York?
Oh, he's going to be a fan favorite.
Oh, my goodness.
He's going to be a fan favorite.
So for you, Coach, how are you looking at this with the Knicks?
Yeah.
Well, I think Jose is a big pickup. You know, obviously Christ the King, playing in front of that crowd. The crowd's going to love him. He's going to be picking up full court. And let's understand the why. I learned that when I first got in the league. Understand why you win, why you lose. They were 2-9, Perk and Kenny, because they weren't guarding anybody. They've won 8 games in a row now. We saw a great game last night. Reigning clutch player of the year in Jalen Brunson. Karl Anthony Towns having a great year rebounding the ball. But the reason they've won is their defense. And you're adding a guy with Miles McBride being out. Jose Alvarado is a guy that teams and players hate playing against because he's going to be in your jockstrap. He's going to be picking you up 94 feet, making you feel him. Really good acquisition. Mike Brown will find a way to get him going right away. But I love how the Knicks are playing. They have Jalen Brunson. We know what he's capable of, and expect them to make a lot of noise this postseason.
Well, I know we're old because the jock shop doesn't exist anymore.
You remember.
We're old, man. But anyway, I will tell you this. If you look at what the New York Knicks, the best thing that happened to the New York Knicks is there was no Giannis trade. Because what Giannis would have did is he would have changed the trajectory of what everyone else could have been in the Eastern Conference. And so since that has not happened, at least with 1 hour to go, the Miami Heat aren't Barrett. You know, we can go down the list. And maybe even if the trade had gone to the Knicks, they might not have been better. They might have just been parallel. And so now I think that the best thing that the Knicks are happening, they remain the top of the heap because Giannis has not moved.
The apple is right in the Big Apple. When you talk about complete rosters.
You said the apple is ripe or right?
He said ripe, I think.
I said right.
Okay, the apple's
so nice in there, twice.
I've been in Texas. I know the Texas. I know that slur.
You also
have
been down in Beaumont too.
No doubt,
That's
Beaumont, of course.
Here's the thing, right? They have the most complete roster in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. When you look at from top to bottom, you talk about Karl Anthony Towns, but now him and Mitchell Robinson, Big Mitch, they find their niche, right? Rotating minutes, and Mitch did an outstanding job guarding Jokic last night, especially when Cat got in foul trouble. But I'm looking at their bench, and I look at those non-Jalen Brunson minutes. And now you add Jose and then Kolak. Like, they're being able to stay in the thick of things. When last year you take Jalen Brunson out the game and everything will go left. Now all of a sudden you got that guard play where you just being able to sustain. And so when you look at that roster from top to bottom, the Knicks have no excuse whatsoever not to get to the NBA Finals. When you talk about having two-way players at the wing position, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, what are they lacking? I'm asking, what are they lacking? What are the Knicks missing? Nothing.
And the one guy you didn't mention, we talked about last night, Landry Shamet.
Oh,
another guy off the bench who's really proven to be a key piece to that team. Scoring, offense, playmaking, veteran player that's helping that bench out tremendously.
Well, Knicks are looking to make their first finals since 1999. We're under an hour away from the NBA trade deadline. And Kenny, you mentioned that the Knicks maybe benefited from a certain big domino not moving, and that is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it doesn't seem like that's going to happen because our Shams Charania reporting that the Milwaukee Bucks, they have pivoted. They have moved on from trading Giannis ahead of the deadline. And so they're keeping him on this roster. They're making other moves to try to fortify this team for now around Giannis. So for more on Milwaukee, let's bring in our reporter, Jamal Collier, who covers this team for us day in and day out. Jamal, now that we know that Giannis, he's staying past the trade deadline, what is the outlook here for this Milwaukee Bucks team?
Malika, just simply here, they just didn't feel the urgency to have to do this now. And we reported that Giannis has really been made it known to the Bucks that it's time for a new home in the this deadline or in the offseason. But without putting that pressure on Milwaukee to have a deal done before the rest of the season, the Bucks are able to extend this and go into the offseason where both sides are expected to revisit a deal again. They have been signaling to teams throughout here that they still want to add, with a little bit to go before the deadline. But the biggest thing for the Bucks, they're going to have more draft capital going forward in the offseason to potentially trade. They're going to potentially have a good draft pick of their own if they can. They're currently out of the play-in tournament as well. And they have not given up the idea of salvaging the Giannis era here in Milwaukee. It's going to be a tension point here for the rest of the season, though. Giannis does expect to play. He's out with that calf strain right now. He does want to play at some point again through the rest of the season, regardless if the Bucks are in a play-in tournament potential or not. That is going to create just a sort of a different, views here with the Bucks maybe trying to get a position for a draft pick, and Giannis hoping to compete and win as many games as possible before the end of the season. But where we stand currently, Giannis is going to remain a Buck, and these two sides are going to sort of revisit this thing in the offseason and see where exactly both sides land up.
Jamal, I hear you say this could create some different views. That sounds maybe like a gulf between what the Milwaukee Bucks need, which is a high draft pick, and Giannis Antetokounmpo wanting to be on the floor, which is exactly who Giannis is and why we all enjoy watching him play so very much. Jamal, thank you for that insight. Rona, did I hear that right, though? That sounds like a pretty big gap between Giannis wanting to be on the floor and the Milwaukee Bucks knowing as much as they want to continue to build around Giannis, they kind of need that top pick.
Yeah, I think that was some of the leverage here and the urgency for the Bucks to do a deal, but that's obviously not because the guy, Giannis, he's not going to sit out. Look, I talked to one of the teams that was trying to get Giannis, and they said they never felt Milwaukee was all that serious about dealing with, because that team, they didn't say what they wanted for Giannis. They just said, you don't have enough. There was no, usually when teams are serious about making a trade, they say, we want at least 4 picks. We want 2 good young players. There was never the counter there. And I think part of that is because of what's going on organizationally there. There's Wes Edens is the controlling owner there. Jimmy Haslam has a lot of shares there. And I think there was some owner-to-owner conversation with Jimmy Haslam involved, but Wes Edens is the controlling owner.
Did it ever get serious? What it sounds like you're saying is it never really got to a serious stage with anybody.
I think serious enough that the Bucks listened, serious enough that they had conversations, and that was almost a non-starter before this last little period here. But if you're not really making counters, if you don't tell other teams, here's the red line. You cross that line, you got a deal. Then you're not all that serious about it. And the person who I spoke to, they said, when you're going to make a trade, you do what Memphis did, right? Okay, we're going to trade Jaren Jackson Jr. We want 3 picks.
Say what you want.
Say what you want.
Yep.
They never said what they want in a way that they would actually do a deal.
And now we're here. So I guess, Coach, how the heck, I'm going to put you in Doc Rivers' shoes, right? Giannis wants to play when he's healthy, when he's better. That 4 to 6 week mark puts him sometime maybe March, right? Giannis wants to play. The organization doesn't. What the heck do you do?
Hey, we had Doc on recently, and he said he couldn't wait for the trade deadline to be over. Well, sorry, Doc, this is not going away.
Yeah, this is going to continue.
So this is going to continue to be there. And my thing is this: I want my cake and eat it too. So Giannis is saying we've come to a point where I think I need to go elsewhere because I want to win a championship. So if I'm Milwaukee, I'm saying, cool, we understand that, but we have to do what's best for our future. So we've done everything we can. This is coming to an end. And part of the future is getting the best draft pick in a great draft coming up. So that's an honest conversation and one that needs to be had immediately. Because if we're making a decision and Giannis says, I want out, cool, we'll send you out. But we got to do what's best for us now. It's no longer about what's best for Giannis. We have to protect our organization and our fans and our future. And that's getting a pick in a loaded draft.
Well, all of those discussions will play out based on if he plays or not. And if he plays, the conversation is we might try to do something to enhance while you're here. And if he doesn't play, the conversation was we're going to figure out how to move you. So we also don't want you to possibly get hurt. And because you've had the injuries as well.
This has been nagging.
So, but if he plays, I've been on some really precarious situations in the NBA. I played with one of the great players in basketball, Robert Horry. He was traded to the San Antonio Spurs. The trade was rescinded because Sean Elliott didn't pass the physical when he came to Houston. He came back to Houston the very next day.
The Lakers had that situation
and
last
year. And he played, and we won a championship, and he was a key member of that.
Yeah.
So as a professional athlete, the reason why you are one of the top 400 players in the world, you're able to figure out adversity, and you're able to deal with it and get through it. So we don't know what will happen.
Speechless. I mean, because they're in a bad situation, right? Like, Giannis decides to come back. We're talking about one of the greatest power forwards of all time, like top 5 right now. And if he decides to come, says that he wants to play, who the hell is going to have a conversation and tell him he can't play? Like who's going to tell him that he can't play?
Is there any worry now, though, that he's had this? Giannis, you know, when I was in Milwaukee, when I was covering this team day in and day out, he was Iron Man. Right?
Yeah.
When you think back to that series in 2021, when he played the Atlanta Hawks, when he hyperextended his knee, when everyone was bracing for the absolute worst, he was back in a handful of games because that's the durability of Giannis Antetokounmpo. But now this has been adding up a little bit. So is there any, not just protect an asset, but protect the person and the player who's come back a couple of times because we know how badly he wants to play and it hasn't gone well so far?
There's also a player participation policy, too. If he's loud about saying, I want to play and they're not letting me play, he falls into the category where the league could get involved here.
Yeah.
I just think, though, like, look, if you're Milwaukee and you're going to trade a generational superstar, everybody's got to be on board. Every owner, the GM, the coach, everybody's got to feel good about it. And they're not organizationally in that place yet. Because, like, I play poker, right? If I'm going to go all in, I want to be pushing my chips all in.
Wear sunglasses? Like, what kind of poker?
No,
or you do it.
I don't want to call the all in. I want to push
anybody. You don't tell anybody that this happens with Luka. So it's a lot of ways to skin the cat, and I agree with what you're saying, but there's a lot of ways to skin the cat in terms of making trades and how things happen.
That has come up with Dallas, okay? The Dallas Mavericks made a trade of a generational superstar right after an ownership change. They let Nico Harrison do the trade. Where is he now? Do you want to be the GM who trades the next generational superstar when you don't necessarily know if there's organizational stability and everyone's behind you?
And there is an understanding that in markets like Milwaukee, as amazing of success as Giannis has brought to this team, backcourt swapping Darius Garland for James Harden, also dealing DeAndre Hunter in a three-way deal that brought back Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis. So, Janae, Danny, let's check in the film room. How is this team going to fit together?
Welcome to our NBA trade deadline film room. I love it here because we've got the biggest board ever. And I'm not going to lie, James Harden going to Cleveland sort of was not on my bingo card, Danny.
Mine either. At first, I was like, what the hell's going on? But, I mean, now it's starting to make sense. As it's settled in, I like it. It's a good move for them.
It is. Let's check out their new lineup because shock me or stop me if you've ever heard this before. James Harden leads the NBA in total isolations. Now they have another guard in their lineup as we zoom in here on James Harden. I'm really excited about this. Let's start, though, as we dive into the tape, with the pick and roll. Because James is a master when it comes to this aspect. You set good screens like John Collins does right here. He is so good that he attracts so many double teams, more than Darius Garland. But what's his signature move?
Step back.
Yeah, he should have patented that. But look at him, one-on-one in isolation.
But two step backs.
Exactly, Danny.
But 1-2 step.
But this is what separates him, his ability as a facilitator. Can you walk me through this play and this pass, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, he is the system, and there's a reason why. He can draw two, draw three. They have a great setup for him. Pick and roll, so much attention. That behind the back pass, wide open floater for Zoo. He's going to have a lot of food on plates for these big men, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. They can eat tonight, like when they get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the big men, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, they are absolutely going to thrive with a guy like him. He plays great with bigs. But I feel like you should not get lost in the sauce when it comes to analyzing the starting lineup because he is absolutely going to help Donovan Mitchell as well. We know that Donovan Mitchell is having a career year, but now you add in the fact that James Harden demands more double teams than Darius Garland. You're going to see right here, it's going to create easy looks. He did this with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I mean, that Indiana series that comes to mind with Donovan Mitchell, he just ran out of gas. He had to bring the ball up the floor. He was tired, fatigued. James Harden could play point guard, take some off his plate, draw two, as he always does, because he has that gravitational pull, and get open looks, not only for Donovan Mitchell, but everybody else in company on that team. As you can see, 2-3 guys, wide open corner. He's one of the best in the business at making this pass. Finding cross-court passes, open shooters, easy wide open knockdown shots for everybody in Cleveland.
Is that called the hockey assist? But us basketball players, we call it swing action. James Harden, we got a Clippers fan. I don't know if he's still in mourning because now he's in Cleveland. But I'm excited to see what James Harden does as a member of the Cavaliers. And I feel like this offense will go all the way up. Questions about the defense, but nonetheless, this is a team that has championship expectations the second half of the season, Malika.
I'm loving this film room edition, Danny and Janae. Thank you very much for that breakdown. Mark, you were in the Cavaliers locker room last night. You had a chance to actually talk to the team about how they're feeling about these moves. What did they say?
Well, respectful to the guy that left that they all love. They're excited. They're really, really excited. Yeah, 6 weeks ago, when the first conversations came about James Harden, Donovan Mitchell was aware of him. And he kind of fouled it away. He didn't think anything was going to happen. This is actually somebody that Donovan knows. He worked out with Chris Paul and James Harden early in his career when he was with the Jazz, made Adidas trips with them, but didn't think it was going to happen, and then boom, it did. Donovan told me he talked to James 2 days ago. He's going to talk to him today. This ain't going to be Shaq and Kobe. He's super excited to play with him. They both talked about how they need each other to win. He was impressed how James Harden knew their roster inside and out. They talked about how they were going to work together. And Donovan tells me he's just going to keep squeezing his brain and learn from him. Donovan's having an MVP year, but he said there's so many little things that James does that I could get better at that I'm going to do. I also talked to Jaron Allen and Evan Mobley. And Coach, you know this. Kenny, you know this. What did James do with Joel Embiid? He helped him get an MVP. What did he do with Zubac? He gave Zubac the best time of his career. And they were, how did the young kids do? They do that, right? They're ready to eat, man. Jared Allen and Mobley, they're ready for these alley-oops, these easy buckets. They're about to eat. And this team feels like they've launched a place to compete for a championship. Last thing I'll say about Donovan, he said this is the first time in his career that management said, I'm going to get you an A-star to join you. And he's really, really excited to be with James Harden.
And you can definitely start to feel it. James Harden posting on social media. But you said Ivica Zubac. We have breaking news here on the NBA Today trade deadline special. Ivica Zubac is on his way to the Indiana Pacers here. Our Shams Charania has more. Shams, what can you tell us?
Malika, Ivica Zubac is going to the Indiana Pacers. I'm told Ben Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson, as well as significant draft compensation, is going to the Clippers. Still waiting on what that draft compensation is, but clearly the Pacers wanted a center after losing Miles Turner in free agency last offseason. That's what this has been about. They scoured the market searching for centers, whether it was Daniel Gafford, Ivica Zubac, Yves Missy. There was a laundry list of big men that they were looking into and trying to find someone that Tyrese Halliburton was going to be excited about, someone that they could pair with for the next few years once Tyrese Halliburton is back next season from his torn Achilles. But this Tyrese Halliburton, Ivica Zubac pairing is something the Pacers are very excited about. They've landed Ivica Zubac from the Clippers.
They have the Pacers do their center of the
I
future.
do have details,
Okay.
Malika. It's Ivica Zubac and Kobe Brown for 2 first-round draft picks from the Pacers and 1 second-round pick. The first, one of the first is in 2029. It's unprotected from the Pacers, and then there's another one from this year that does have protection.
All right. Wow. A lot of picks flying around in this deal as well. Shams, thank you very much for that insight. We'll let you get back to work. Brian, this deal is so much bigger than just Ivica Zubac headed to the Pacers.
First off, the Pacers get their replacement for Miles Turner. They've been working on that for a while. Second off, Zubac just went kind of for more than Anthony Davis went for. That's another topic. All right, here's what I think is important. Number one, the Clippers appear to be in a significant retooling. I'll step away from saying rebuilding, but it sure looks like a rebuild to me when you trade for draft picks like this, Harden and Zubac. And so that begs the question, what about Kawhi Leonard? What about Kawhi Leonard? Okay, he may not be going in the next 36 minutes, but is this a precursor to looking at whether a Kawhi Leonard trade is coming this summer? He's got 1 year left on his contract. Obviously, we've got the aspiration investigation also going along. The second thing that people are blowing up my phone about right now is the cheers and celebrations in Oklahoma City because the Thunder have the Clippers draft pick this year unprotected. And now the Clippers pick has been soaring up. They were headed for the playoffs, in my view. Now they've traded Harden and Zubac here. They're going down. So this is improving Oklahoma City's opportunity to be in the lottery, which they're celebrating.
Okay, wait. There's so many tentacles to this trade here. We have the Oklahoma City Thunder, the defending champs who are cheering and celebrating. We have the fact that Kawhi Leonard, a question that we've been asking, Ramona, is this spelling out the end of Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers?
About 12 hours ago, I was in the Clippers locker room, and I went to Kawhi Leonard, and I said, you know, I remember when they traded for James Harden, and this was like your big move. You had Paul George and James Harden and you, and there was that big three. You guys were going for it. It was just a couple years ago, and now those guys are gone. You're the last one standing. And he goes, yeah, does it feel like the end of an era?
That's
and he's
about
like,
as verbose as
yeah,
it gets,
it does. Those guys are gone. The players are gone. That's it. He's the last one standing. And I remember the other night when James Harden was traded to Cleveland, somebody whispered to me, you know, watch Zubac now, because I don't think the Clippers are necessarily looking to trade Zubac, but there was a lot of good offers on him because he has a very good contract. He doesn't make as much money as some of these other front lines, Anthony Davis, as you mentioned.
Okay.
They could get 2 first-round picks for him. And he benefited so much from playing next to James Harden. He's probably a declining asset now that Harden is not there.
You know, one thing that teams don't realize, because it's kind of like when you look at your hand, you can only see the markings in yours. You don't pay attention to the rest of the league. So as the Clippers were moving into championship contending, there's other teams that are making moves to do the same thing. And we're just going to figure out to see which ones work. And now we realize the Clippers weren't able to reach their goals at the Milwaukee Bucks when Damian Lillard gets hurt now they're reaching that goal. So everyone is moving simultaneously. So there is a continuity of movement that I think the world and the other teams forget. And they think that they're the last all and end all.
Well, and I think it's a great pickup, by the way, for Indiana. Obviously, this has been a really tough year for Rick Carlisle and company after making the NBA Finals, Halliburton recovering from the injury. But if he has a partner in Zoo, that's a great big man and a center that they can build with for years forward.
And a very good 3-year contract at less than $20 million a year. Excellent value. I would not have traded him if I were the Clippers.
Oh, we have the first Brian Clapp of the show.
We got 2 first.
He is reporting that Draymond Green, he will be in a Golden State Warriors uniform 31 minutes from now. He was, Slater says, involved in Giannis conversations that never gained traction. And now, of course, we know that Kristaps Porzingis is a member of the Golden State Warriors. So let's check in here on the state of the Western Conference on 2 Titans that we have come to know as sort of mainstays in the conference. And one of them is Steph Curry here. If you're in Golden State, Coach, you have been. How are you feeling?
You know, obviously they were going for Giannis. That would have been the big, sexy move to pair him with Steph Curry.
No big sexy.
That's not no big sexy. Not big
only one.
Not big hurt.
Only one.
So that's not going to happen. I'm happy for Draymond. I coach Draymond, a big fan of his, that he's going to be able to stay and hopefully finish his career in Golden State for everything he's done for that franchise and helping them win all those championships. But, you know, the end of this season, Porzingis, it's going to be tough sledding to finish out this year, and I don't see them making a lot of noise come postseason.
Well, you know, it is fortunate for Draymond, but, you know, the greatest players in the world have been traded, especially at the latter part of their careers, and Draymond would be no exception if the team feels that they want to move on. And I think he understood that as well. I think that's why but the difference is everyone's not able to receive information. Some people you can't tell everything. They had to tell Draymond. He is someone who can actually take that information, receive it, come back today, and still be Draymond Green.
And be a pro.
And a lot of guys are not able to do that. And they know who to spoon feed and who actually just give the plate to.
And I think now the question turns to Steph Curry. He's had this injury that he's been contending with and how long that could continue.
Right. So the thing is, they've crossed the Rubicon with Draymond. They've told him that he will be involved in trade discussions going forward. So, okay, he's going to be at the rest of this season. He's got 1 year left on his contract, and it's a player option. So do they revisit Draymond trade discussions in the offseason? And could they revisit Giannis conversations in the offseason? The second thing, as you said, Steph Curry is out right now with a sore knee. They said it's runner's knee. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like it's something that needs rest. And the question is, if with the Warriors not having really materially improved here, I don't know what Porzingis is going to be able to give them. How much is Steph Curry going to be playing in the short-term future? Does the Warriors have control of their pick? I know people are probably like, why do you keep talking about players shutting down with their pick? The 2026 draft is very, very highly valued, and if you can't improve your team, through the trade deadline, you improve your team through the draft, and that's going to be a consideration for players.
I'm a little disappointed in a few teams in the Western Conference: Minnesota, the Rockets, and the Lakers, because we talk about how wide open the East is. Which, with the moves that's been made, I wouldn't necessarily say it's just wide open. I think we know who the top 3 dogs are. I don't know who the top 3 dogs are no more in the Western Conference.
You don't think it's OKC Spurs?
Because of injuries, right? SGA now is out. J-Dub with the hamstring, and we know how soft tissue injuries could be. You're looking at the Denver Nuggets right now. Aaron Gordon is out, hamstring injury. Jokic is still banged up. He had another scare last night.
Cam Johnson's still out too.
Right. So when you look at the Rockets and you and it didn't have to be a powerful move, just a popular move. Like, you could have went out and kind of been somewhat aggressive and went got a Tyus Jones or Kobe White to fulfill that veteran point guard position. If you're in Minnesota, you're looking like they made some nice little moves. I think AO is going to be fine for them from the Bulls. But I was expecting even the Lakers, we talk about their rim protection, how they're one of the worst in the league. DeAndre Ayton has been inconsistent all year long. Like, I expected them to be more aggressive. Especially when you talk about having a LeBron, a Luka, a Austin Reeves. They have one of the best offensive weapons as far as those guys as a trio. I expected, because the West really is wide open right now.
I was looking at Houston, thinking the same thing. You're fourth in the West. Do you have enough shooting around Kevin Durant and Şengün? And biggest question is, they've tried to go point guard by committee, and you can speak on this, Kenny, because you played at a high level. They're going point guard by committee. Can you go point guard by committee into the postseason and have a chance to move forward? They're 27th in the league in assists per game, and they're asking guys to play a position that is something that is hard to do.
Very hard to do. You know, I think, first of all, I think the Rockets have made some really great moves over the last 2 years. That's put them in the position that they're in now. You know, but a Jose Alvarado he would be better fit for the Rockets than he actually is for the Knicks. He would have been more valuable, rather. Not better fit, but more valuable. Just someone who played that position. I do remember, even the latter part of my career, when I got traded, and we played the Rockets again, and I come back into the locker room and see Hakeem Olajuwon. He says, "I apologize to you." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I really worked. I said I didn't know what he was talking about. And he says, "I didn't realize how hard it was to simply give me the ball at the right position." I apologize. He took it for granted. Yeah. And I was like, "Well, I appreciate that. Tell him to bring me back." I was like, "Tell him to bring me back."
I think Houston and San Antonio, to a certain extent, are in the same boat, which is that they are looking at this as a 3 or 4 year window, and they don't want to give up assets to rent a player.
But let me ask you this, Wendy. I understand that with the San Antonio Spurs, not with the Rockets. This is not a 3-4 year window with a Kevin Durant, right? Like, he's still playing at elite level, but KD is 38, 39 years old?
I think he's a little younger than that, but yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is you got to maximize. I feel like that window is now, because if you'd asked me this a month and a half, 2 months ago, it would have been OKC and Denver and pretty much everybody else with the Spurs knocking at the door. But now if you're the Lakers and Rockets, you saying, well, damn, we passed the halfway mark and guys are injured. We got a real shot.
There was like 9 or 10 guards traded in the last 3 days. Half of them went to the Bulls. Yeah. So it wasn't like the market was there.
All the Hornets.
Hey, here's the last question. So Minnesota, back-to-back Western Conference Finals.
Right, high bar.
They got Io. Cool. They went to get Giannis, didn't get him. Do they have enough coming off of that bench to provide a scoring boost? They got Naz Reid, but
it's not the bench, Coach.
You know,
do they have enough to make Ant-Man not get double teamed and he can be Ant-Man?
Because he talked about it.
It's really that's it, because it's the guys that they're bringing in, other than Randall. You know, those guys they're not getting the attention.
Right.
So now
he can do his thing.
Where he could do his thing.
It sort of feels like we've been looking at the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Spurs have been hanging tough. They're ahead of schedule for the entire season. And that middle of the West through the play-in picture, it feels entirely fluid. Will any team try to bolster their roster with